Hi, my name is George Mormisato. I'm the developer of Transcendence, and today I want to show off this the first version. This is the first publicly released version of Transcendence, version 0.70, 0.7. It's as you can see pretty primitive. If you're familiar with the current version of Transcendence, which I'll show later, you can see immediately the limited turning facings for all these ships. Let's start a game. You can see it's got the same intro. It's got very different music, which is okay. This is how it starts. I mean, look how quickly everything starts. By the way, that's another thing that I think is different. There's so few resources that it doesn't take very much to load. But obviously things like the turning facings for the ship. You could only fire in like these. I believe there was. I think in this one there might have been 20 facings in the first version. So you really could not do very much. Music, of course, only lasted. We only had one track. Michael Tangent had only done one track so far. So now there's no music. And you can see that the space background obviously is pretty austere. I would say the bitmaps are pretty small. This originally this was released in 2003, and it was designed essentially for 1024 by 768 screens. So a much smaller screens than we have today. This is running at 1920 by 1080, and you can see that we're kind of the center is kind of constrained. This was before we added we decided to basically expand the view screen to just fit the screen, the monitor size. So yeah, you can see it's pretty constrained. It's pretty small. The sprites are not very detailed. You can see there's a lot of. It's almost like there's very little texture. Oh, here we go, pirates. There's very little texture. You can really. Oh, and I'm about to die already. Look at that. There's very little texture. There's very little. And yet it's very familiar, right? I mean, a lot of the graphics look very similar. This, of course, is really pretty primitive. There's a lot of stuff missing. There's it feels very crufty compared to I think what I hope is a much more polished version right now. Repairing armor is a little complicated. I'm not even sure what I'm repairing. You notice there's we don't see the what in the newer versions we can see like the actual armor segments. Here we only we kind of have to go through. Here's the forward segment. I have to repair it, and then I guess continue to go to the next segment. This one's damaged and cannot be repaired, so I got to replace it, but there's nothing to replace it with. I guess I'm gonna have to buy some stuff. This one I can repair. So you can see there's kind of a lot of cruftiness. So that one piece of armor segment looks like it's just dead. So I'm gonna have to buy it at the commodities exchange. Again, this doesn't show a list. It's just kind of you kind of cycle through all the different items on the stations that you can buy, and yet very familiar. I mean, a lot of this text probably hasn't changed since version 0.7. Popular weapon for life phrase. I think that's probably the exact same text that's shown today. I'm not positive. We'll have to confirm. Okay. I don't even know. Strength 12. I don't even know what that means. Oh, I assume that means hit points. Notice that you don't even get to see what the hit points are for this one. Let me get some reactive armor. I can buy one, and that's all I can buy. I probably can't even install it now. Repair or replace armor. That one. Replace. Okay. Oh, I barely have enough. Okay, so now I'm back. Let's see. No mouse controls. I can't fly with the mouse. Everything's with the keyboard. Look at the map again. It's very primitive, very austere. But some things are still the same. I mean, some of the there's still until very recently this design for Eridani. Until very recently, this design for Eridani had not changed. I think in 1.8, this is probably still the exact same design for Eridani, with a giant, gas giant over there, and then a blue kind of methane giant up here. None of that really has changed. The thrust effects, the weapon effects, the explosions, those have all been improved. A lot of the graphics, some of these asteroid effects have the asteroid images have not changed, and others have. This is so it's interesting to play this game right now and see kind of what has changed and what hasn't changed. I do like how much the game has evolved and how it's changed over time. I really am really pleased with how it's gone. But you can kind of see all the original ideas in this early version. These guys are going to kill me. Three Vikings against a lonely Sapphire. There's no way I'm going to survive this. Let's see. Am I? Maybe. My shields are back. Ah, look at that. I actually did survive. That's and I get some loot. Again, the core concepts of shooting things and, oh, there's one. You know what? I'm gonna avoid it. And let's go to the Stargate. Let's go to the next system. There's no galactic map here. I can't see where I've been, or where my. There's a Stargate. It's a lot smaller than. Let's just go before I. Different now. It's just a different map. There's no Stargate, so there's no way to see where I've been. Now I'm not running out of fuel. Let me refuel. And there's not much variation from system to system. There's no help system. F1 doesn't work. Let's see. I can invoke. I still have sustain, which is pretty cool. I don't think I can use items. At least U doesn't seem to do anything. Maybe it also could just be that I don't have any items to use, so it doesn't even give me something. I've got autopilot. Whoop! Look at this. These guys. This is the old Centauri Raider models. One thing. So one thing that I kind of got wrong in the earlier versions. Look how fast these guys are moving. They're tiny little ships and moving really fast. Originally, I think I placed way too much emphasis on realism or verisimilitude. Well, however you say that, realism into the game, rather than I think gameplay. Rather than I think concentrating on gameplay. So the Centauri warlords kind of had these small little ships, and since they're small, they would go very fast. They'd be very maneuverable and whatnot. But of course, as the almost introductory tutorial enemy, as an enemy that you kind of saw in the first system when you had barely played, they were way too fast for the player to hit, and way too small for you to accurately get a hit on them. So later on in version, probably by 1.0, I think I had already fixed this. I decided to make the Centauri warlords move much slower. They used a bigger sprite, so they were a bigger target. In general, again, kind of ignoring whether or not that was realistic or not, I wanted to go for a gameplay effect and make sure that the player could actually have a fun experience. It's less important than having a quote realistic experience, especially in a science fiction game where pretty much nothing's realistic. So that's one of the things that I learned. Over time as the game has developed, and I think honestly that's something that I think I struggle with even now. There's a lot of things where I kind of think I should change the game design, but I haven't yet for either tradition or because it just doesn't feel quite right. I think I need to do more work on that. Look at this old. That's an EI 100. That's kind of an old sprite for an EI 100. Again, trying to get the feeling of basically this frame with a bunch of cargo crates strapped onto it. it doesn't quite come off because the sprites are so small. But yeah, that's how it is. Let me bunch of stations. Again, like in the current game, you really don't know what's in the system until you actually get close to it. More pirates. There weren't that many enemies. This is 0.7, so this was before, for instance, things like ranks or I'm not even sure Ares was in here yet. Maybe not. It's very very few very few enemies. Let's see what else we find. This is a bunch more stations. This is a fuel station. None of the, or there were very few sprites for stations. So, almost all the stations look the same. Here's a hotel and it's using the exact same sprite as a Commonwealth station. So again, nothing really weird about that. Notice this whole hotel scene with the maitre d' and I'm not sure if I think the black market stuff is in here even in version 0.7. I'm not quite sure. I don't have any contraband, and I don't have a way to cheat myself more contraband, so I can't really tell. But it looks like it's in there. Outlaw Station. These guys are probably gonna kill me, and I think I'll let them kill me, and we'll end it there. Oh, but you know what? Maybe I can get some contraband here. Nope. Just some barrels that I don't know about. Okay, I will try to kill these guys. Oh my goodness, now there's too many of them. Okay, now I can invoke. And let's go someplace. Let's see if I can go someplace where they can maybe protect me. Or at least I'll get my shields back up. But notice again, because of the limited facings, they can't really even hit me the way they've done it. There we go. Okay, you guys can take care of them now. Thank you. Let me refuel. I can use some of these barrels, or I thought I could use these barrels. View my cargo hold. Next item. I thought I got some barrels. Yeah, these. Now, to be honest, I forget how to use these now. I thought, use item. That's how you do it. You have to go through this interface. I'm going to use them on my port because that looks pretty damaged. And it repairs it. That's awesome. I can use that. I can use it again on the forward one. Oh, that's great. See, so things are going pretty well. Let me just sell some stuff, and then I think I'm going to go. And this, I can't sell that. Not interested. Sell that. Keep those. Sell those. Keep those. Sell those. Okay. So that's in a nutshell. This is 0.7. I mean, it gets you the whole idea of what's really going on. It's got the core mechanics of just flying around and fighting. It's got random barrels, that kind of stuff. That's back to Iridani. It's got weapons, it's got armor, it's got these guys, which are really, really hard to kill with the limited facings. You just kind of have to hit them. So it's all kind of here, and I was really very pleased with the reception. I mean, it's not like it ever became a really popular game at 0.7, but I got enough good feedback. I got enough people kind of playing it and saying, "Hey, this is actually pretty cool," that it encouraged me to continue working on it. And of course, now 17 years later, I think the game is just so much better for all the feedback I've gotten and for all the contributions that people have made. So this is it's been quite a journey, and I think it's a lot of fun to see where it started. All right, am I gonna die here? No, I think I'm pretty good so far. That's amazing. Here's an anarchist camp. Again, the sprites are very different, but it's still the same basic concept. Ceramic armor, and that's it. This was before, I think, a lot of the anarchists had ROMs. This guy I can kill easily. Autopilot's a little bit slower, believe it or not, than in the current game. I think it didn't update quite as fast as the current game does. It's just, another one of those little refinements. Look at these guys. Finally died. This is not too different. This end game screen. I think it's a little bit larger. It's not. I've grown it out to be more than 1024 by 768. But other than that, it's all this is the same. It's really you can see kind of the heritage, and you can see it. I'm gonna play the new game just very quickly so you guys can see the difference. So stay tuned. Now you can already see the difference here. One difference is how much longer it takes to load. The original version of the game, version 3, didn't have mods or anything like that. It just it had one single XML file that contained all the code and all the resources for the systems and all that. So there's very little. So it just was very fast to load. Now, of course, we've got mod collection, we've got settings, we've got debug mode. There's a whole bunch of things that the game we're connected to an online service that stores your account. There's just a ton of new work that has been done, and there's just I think it's just such a different game. And obviously, I mean, this is a modern game in the sense that you can see the graphics are just much more kind of 21st century graphics rather than late 80s, early 90s graphics. So I think in that sense a lot has improved. But of course, it is amazing how many resources it takes. This game will it'll take half a gigabyte of memory to run, whereas the old version of Transcendence could run in 200 megabytes, 100 megabytes. This is much larger. The sprites obviously are larger, or at least for the most part look larger. You can see how much the game has improved just in terms of its visual style, and I'm really pleased with the visual style, how the visual style has progressed. I do think that now Transcendence kind of has a very distinctive visual style, and I'm really happy with it. The music, of course, I think sets the mood perfectly. I think Michael Tanner's done a great job. It's just a really kind of operatic, epic scale music. But here, look, the exact same pirates. This sprite has been changed since then. It's slightly larger and it's slightly more detailed. Not very much more detailed, but it's conceptually almost the same model. This station is new, is different, but again, not too different. It kind of evokes the same kind of thing from the original. So I just think it's so interesting to see how these changes. How the game has evolved and how it's changed still with the unknown barrels. I mean, another key part of the game. So I think that's just fun to see it all. All right, well, that's it. I'm gonna go. Hope you enjoyed this little trip on the time machine. It's definitely been quite a fun journey for me, doing all this, getting the game from version 0.7 to what it is now. I'm hoping this week to work on the next, releasing a new beta for the 1.9 release. So hopefully that'll happen in the next couple of weeks. That's kind of my plan. So development continues. All right. Well, thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.